Okay, now we're up to the conclusion paragraph. Now there are two main rules to keep in mind when writing the conclusion paragraph. Number one, you're going to restate the thesis. Now this does not mean to repeat the thesis statement word for word. Instead, you're going to find a new way to state the thesis. And by doing this, you provide a bookend for the essay, and it also reminds the readers of your point. The second rule is that we don't want to introduce any new information. The place for new supporting points is in the body of your essay. The conclusion is only for restating. So let's take a look at these rules in a little more detail. When you restate the thesis, we can start the conclusion paragraph with a transitional phrase that indicates that we're wrapping up. Now, just a note, some instructors will tell you not to use the phrase "in conclusion" as a transition. Some people feel that that is overused, and so you may want to think about other transitions that can tell your reader that you're wrapping up. And I have an example of one here. The example I have here would be a good first sentence for a conclusion paragraph. For all of these reasons, it becomes clear that the high school sex ed class is the perfect place to distribute condoms to at-risk teens. So you see what we've done here. We have that transition for all of these reasons. That also indicates to your reader that this is the conclusion, that we're wrapping up. And then I've also restated the thesis. I have my topic, which is distributing condoms, and I have an idea about the topic, and that it's the sex ed class in high school is the perfect place for it. It's the exact same thesis that was in my introduction, but I've just reworded it. Now for that second rule about not introducing new ideas. You may be thinking to yourself, well, once I restate the thesis and maybe just mention my 3 supporting points again, what else is there? What else can I say to make this a fully developed paragraph? Well, this could be a perfect time to revisit the hook that you introduced in the introduction paragraph. For example, you'll remember in the introduction module, I had a quote from Jane Fonda as one of my examples. Well, why not come back to that quote in the conclusion as an example? Jane Fonda was right. In order to be advocates for change, we must first embrace the opportunity to educate our teens, and this education must include giving out condoms. So again, I'm revisiting my thesis, and I'm revisiting that hook that was so good in my introduction. And it works with most hooks. You could revisit a statistic that you used in the introduction or an anecdote that you used. Okay, so once you have written that conclusion paragraph, now you want to take the opportunity to revise and edit the essay as a whole. I strongly recommend using a checklist, and there is a checklist available to you in this module. Share your work with a partner, and be sure and take the feedback from your partner. Visit a writing lab. If you have a writing lab available to you, that is a great place to go and work one-on-one with an instructor or a tutor and get some really constructive feedback. Revise and edit as many times and with as many different methods as possible before the due date. Remember, way back in the first module, we said that you have to give yourself lots of time in order to do that. If you're waiting till the last minute to write your essay, you're going to be stuck with whatever you can come up with. But if you finish early, you can revise and revise and revise. The more times you can revise and edit, the better the final product is going to be. And don't resist making changes. Sometimes when students have spent a lot of time working on their essay, by the time they get to the end, they feel really committed to it. The way that I put it with my students is that you feel married to the final product, and you don't want to make any changes to it because you're just kind of got this attachment to it. Well, try not to feel that way. Remember, writing is a process, and part of that process is making changes in the revise and edit stage. So included in this module, I'm giving you several writing prompts. So practice writing a complete essay using the prompt in the writing process. See if you can do it from start to finish. As additional practice, go back into the rhetorical modes and look at some of the sample paragraphs in those modules. You could try taking each one of those and expanding it into an essay, and that will give you additional practice. All right, well, we are done. So if you just keep working through those modules, go through the quizzes, work through the homework, work through the practice exercises that I've given you to keep practicing that process.